Did you always wanted to know how you can get the flight plan manually in the avionics system? Then this is the video you're looking for. Let's roll the intro and then let's look at how to do that. So we're currently in a Cessna 172. We're using the GNS 530 and 430, which means that we're not having the Garmin G1000 system, which is a little bit different, but that will be discussed in a future video. As you can see, I already started programming a flight, right? So I'm departing from Rotterdam The Hague Airport, runway 24, there's no departure configured, there's a route which I did find using the EFB, and then we've got ILS number 25, it's a direct approach, and then to Blankensee, which is in Germany. As mentioned already, I didn't press this option because I simply want to configure the flight plan manually, and I want to show you how to do it also, because it's so much nicer to do it manually than pressing these buttons, which are sometimes also very useful, especially if you want to do a fast flight. So let's have a look at how we can do that. So the first thing you need to do, of course, is you need to go to the FPL, which stands for the flight plan, right? So if you press it, then you will see an empty flight plan, and that's where the fun starts. So the fun starts, of course, at the top, right? Because we need to configure the departing airport. Now, if you know the EFB, you have probably already figured out that there are some nice things, including, I would say, a nice checklist. And this checklist contains all the, I would say, beacons which we're going to visit, I would say, during our flight up to the runway at Blankensee, right? So that's really useful, and you can use that, I would say, for your convenience. However, that's an option. The other option is to simply use this list, because this one also contains several things, right? It contains IPMUR, it contains OSN. And if I press those E from India's, I can see, okay, what kind of information is this, right? So this is a waypoint. I can check the weather. It's IFRS red. I can see the runways, if there was a runway, and the frequency. And there's also no frequency for this one. But maybe if we look at another one, if we're lucky, right, OSN, we can see this one is a VOR beacon. This is the position. We can check the weather. This is the weather, and also we can see the frequency, right? So that's really useful, and by using this button, you can directly configure your radio or your navigation system to use that specific beacon. But for now, we're gonna go back to the list because we're gonna do this. So everything which you need to do is using this large knob, right? So that large knob has a few functionalities. First of all, you can right click on it and then it will be active, as you can see. Now it's blinking over here, and then you can use the small knob to open this new screen because you can enter a waypoint. So in this case, I can say echo, which is good. Then you can use the large knob to move positions. Then I'm gonna go to the H from hotel. Then to the next one, and then search for Romeo. Always, let's say difficult, right? Romeo. And then the last one is D from Delta. As you can see, it already comes up with some information, right? It shows me, okay, hey, this is it's the Netherlands, it's Rotterdam, this is the position. And once I'm happy with it, I press this button, which is the enter button. And you can see that it now directly has added the waypoints to my airport. Or let's say to my flight plan, I should say, not to the airport, to my flight plan. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add IPMUR, right? So let's also do that. So we're going to use the small knob again and then change the position, right? India, Papa. And then, a little bit far. Then Mike. Whoa. You can see that sometimes it already starts predicting things, right? Because it knows, hey, there's only one specific beacon which starts with that name. IPMUR, here we are. No, we don't want to go to China. We want to go to Germany, right? IPMUR, it's over here, right? It also says Netherlands, also fine with that. So we're gonna do that. So what you now see, it has done two things. First of all, it says Rotterdam The Hague, and then en route, which is the next waypoint, that's IPMUR. So IPMUR is, I would say, 80, or 47 nautical miles from here. So that's something which you can use. And also the direction, right? So the degrees is there. So next one was OSN. So using the small knob again, let's move it around and then we can change it easily. OSN. And there we go, QRS. And then the last one already, the end from November. Here we go, in Sissenbroek. And we can also see that it shows us the beacon type, right? So also pretty useful. And then it adds it to the waypoint. And then you can see, okay, hey, this one is again 96.7 nautical miles, right? So this is, I would say, the distance from the previous waypoint, while this is the total distance, so 144 nautical miles. And then you can continue this list, of course, right, with MOPSA and the other things. And that will take some time, so I will speed up the video a bit. Because else you are looking at me, let's say, scrolling the wheel, and that's not always useful. At least I don't think it's useful. One other thing before speeding up the video, there are some aircrafts which have that nice keyboard where you can simply enter it. As based on my understanding, that was not the case with this system. But in some case you're lucky, like OPSA or MOPSA, sorry, and this one is already in the system, so you simply press enter. And then it's over there. So I'm going to speed up the video and I will return once I added all the beacons or the waypoints to the flight plan. So everything is in the list. As you can see, we're starting to Ipmoor, then OSN, then MOPSA, Anuk, Kebab, or KGAP, and then eventually EDHL, which is Blankensee Airport. And you can see, let's say, if we would look at the map, right, or if we would look here, you can already see that the flight is there. So if I remove it here, I can use the range button to zoom out. So let me do that. Here we go. And there you can see that it already now added the flight plan to my GNS 530. But the nice thing is that by default, it will also add it to the 430, right? So if I press this one, I can still see, let's say, the flight plan, which is really cool because then you don't need to do it manually. So that's pretty cool because now you can take off and then you can use the IFR, right? You can use the autopilot of this aircraft to simply fly a route from, in this case, Rotterdam The Hague Airport to Blankensee, which is a cool thing. But we're not there yet, right? Because there are more things which you can do. In this case, I selected, let's say, a straight out departure for Rotterdam The Hague Airport and also a direct approach for, in this case, Blankensee. But we didn't configure the approach, right? If we would look at this list, you can see that there are far more beacons in this list compared to, let's say, what we just configured. Because there's the 12 ILU, there's the Roxham, the OMN25, and the runway 25. And that's where this part comes into play. It's called the procedures. In the procedures list, you can select the procedure, right? You can see you can select the approach, select the arrival, and select the departure. So how can you use that in your benefit? Well, let me show you, and to show you how that looks like, I'm going to use the web view of the flight planner tool because I think that one is, I would say, pretty cool. So what we're going to do is we've got EDHL, right, which is Blankensee Airport. And if we would zoom into this one, we can, let's say, of course, get the charts. And inside the chart, we can select, in this case, the approach, right? Because the approach, that's something which we can select. And here you can see the approach for runway 25. I think that was the one we were, I'd say, selecting. Yes, runway 25. And then we can select this one. So this one is the list, so you can add it to your pin chart if you want, but you can also press the preview chart. The preview chart allows you to see, okay, the approach, right? So this is the approach in this case, so you can see that the airport is over here, but it goes via Roxham, which is over here, right? So you need to fly via Roxham and then fly into the airport using this way, or using, I would say, this method, I would say that would be more logical because that's where the arrow stands. Think to keep in mind, right, that the altitude, the approach altitude is at 3,000 feet. So at Roxham, we need to be at 3,000. Then we're doing a descent using 3 degrees descent. And then you will, I would say, visit the next waypoint. And then eventually you will land on the airport, hopefully. Right, so that's pretty cool. And now you can see, okay, how you can use this in your benefit. So the approach is, I would say, is it special? Well, not really, but it's very useful. And as you can see here, you can also see where it starts, right? And this is the information which we already got, which is really useful. But in some scenarios, you want to fly a certain arrival route. And that's a predefined route, which you can find over here. So in this case, the arrival route for runway 25, right, has, I would say, 3 different arrival routes. So if we press this one, we can see those different routes, right? So in, I would say, some cases it shows more nicely because then it shows it with, I would say, colors. And to do that, you can switch to the procedures, if I'm correct, and then go to the arrivals and then go to the different ones, and then you can select them. Then you need to make sure that you deselect this so you can see that you can also select those ones individually if you want. Then you can see how they are going, right? So in this case, this is the BOC M1V, but if I would say move over to another one like this, right, you can see the different approaches. So, or arrival routes, right? Forget approaches, arrival routes. So in this scenario, what you could say is, okay, hey, if we're landing on runway 25, then these are the arrival routes, right? So I can either, let's say, connect here, or I can connect here, or I can use this one. Eventually, all of them will bring you close to the airport because the airport is located here. Since we're coming from, I would say, the southern part, right, of the or east, southeast, I would say. No, southwest, of course, southwest part. Then we can use, for example, the null G1R, which connects us here. But how to do that? Well, that's relatively easy. So in this case, we need to set the arrival route. So what we're going to do is using that large knob, we can move to the position and then you need to hit enter. Don't push this button, hit the enter key. And then it will show you some information. So it will show us, okay, hey, in this case, arrival, non-RW06, and then load. And it has to do because we're currently located at Rotterdam The Hague Airport, right? So that's the default. So by default, it will take that airport as, let's say, the starting point. And that's, of course, in this case, not what we want to do because, hey, we want to, let's say, do it a different way. So what you need to do in that scenario is you need to move over using that large knob and then, let's say, change this to the destination airport. So Echo Delta. Now I also need to look it up. Echo Delta. Echo Delta, and then the next one, oh, Delta. Hotel Lima. There we are, and then we can move over to this one and then hit enter. And there we see those arrival routes. So in this case, we've got NOLG1R and NOLG1 Victor. So let's check them. So this is one or NOLG1R. So we're going to move that large knob and then hit enter again. Then it will say, hey, this for runway 25, that's correct. And then you can say load, right? So load simply adds it to the flight plan. So if we would move now down into the flight plan, let's do that. You can see that it also has added an arrival, which is the NOLG1R. If it completely makes sense, that really depends. So normally what you would do is add this to your flight plan directly. So let's also do that and then figure out if the flight plan still makes sense, right? So add arrival, and then we're gonna search for NOLG1R, and then we're gonna say change can see it still makes sense. In this case, what you can do is you can say find route. And this will say kind of clean up the route and make sure that everything is correct. And then based on that, you will see that now the route has been extended also in the flight plan, which you need to submit to the ATC for approval. Now, the other thing, as you probably already saw, was that we also had the option to configure a standard instrumental departure, right? So to do that, let's go to Rotterdam The Hague Airport in that case, because that's the thing where we of course want to start, right? So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna look at the airport, which is over here. We're gonna select it, and if we select it, we also have that procedures map thing. And we are departing from runway 24, and then we want to have the departures. And if you click on it, it will zoom into those departures, right? So these are the departures which are available for you. If you would click on, let's say, arrivals, you would see something else. And these are the ones which we can currently use. But make sure that you're also zooming in onto runway 24, because else if you don't do it, you will get everything back. So in this case, right, runway 24, if we would zoom into the, it's a little bit hard to see. Oh, come on. It's over here, right? So that would make sense that we're gonna make, I would say, almost a right turn, sorry, and then follow this one, right, which is the orange line. And the orange line ends at Arne 3B. So what you always see is that the end of the, in this case, that instrumental departure is the name of the, or is the starting name of the standard instrumental departure. So in this case, I would say it's above Arnhem, right? Which makes sense. So we're gonna do two things, right? We're gonna add this one. So we're gonna add this one to the flight plan. So let's go to Flight Simulator. So the first thing we're gonna do is add it to the flight plan here, and then we're gonna add it to the flight plan in the avionics. So we're gonna go to this list, add the departure, and then we need to select Arne 3B and then say change procedure. And now it has added it, and we can still press find routes. And this is where you see changes happening, right? So keep in mind that if you do this, you might need to make some other changes in your flight plan, because it might be that some things have changed. In this case, you can see that Sonneby, All.Survox, and HMM are added and have replaced the previous ones. So we're gonna select, first of all, the departure, right? So let's first do that. So we're going to say select departure. In this case, it already selected Rotterdam The Hague Airport because it picks the existing location. And then we're going to say Arne 3A, which 3B is the one which we need to have. Hit enter, runway 24, and then say load. Now it has added a lot of things to the flight map, right? So, or to the flight plan, sorry. So let's go to the list, and this is where you can see everything is there, and then this is the en route. However, we need to change this one, right? Because, hey, if we want to do it like this, then it likely doesn't work 100% correctly. And to do that, what we need to do is we can use that small knob again, right? We're gonna use a small knob and then say Sonneby, right? So let's do it. And then S. Oh. You can see it's always a challenge, right? But hey, that makes it also fun. So Sonneby, right? That's good. That's in Germany, so we're gonna accept it. And now it has added it here. So everything is still good, right? So keep this one in for now, because I will show you in a few seconds how to delete it. If you want to, of course, would say speed up the video, then you're good to go, right? Because there's a marker where I will continue about talking about that specific removing the beacons or removing waypoints from the flight plan. In this case, almost done, right? So it shouldn't take too long. So I'm not going to speed up the video for this. So here we are. And then we need to add another one. Suvax, right? So let's do that. And you can see that, let's say, once you're, familiar with this, it adds a lot of, realism, right? Because simply adding the flight plan by pressing that magic button in the EFB is of course very nice to do if you want to do a very quick flight. But hey, this is far more nicer, right? If you would do it like this. So Suvox, we're almost there. Come on. Oh, and then the X from X-ray. And then we've got HMN. Almost there. HM. Oh, not to Mexico. And in some cases, what you see is this happens, right? So if we now select HMM. I won't say we don't want to go to Russia in this case. In some cases, this pops up, right? So this pops up, and I would say because this waypoint is used in multiple areas, right? You can also see Qatar, but it says Germany. In this case, I'm fine with that. So if you don't see the correct one popping up, then you likely need to clean up the list. So now we're there, right? Let's push the button and we can see everything has been added, including, let's say, or adjustments, but we still have that IPMOR one, which we want to remove. And that's where this button comes into clear, right? So if I press clear, it says, hey, do you want to clear it? Then hit enter and then it's gone. And if we would now move to the flight plan, or actually remove the flight plan, you can see that it made a lot of adjustments already, which is really good. I would say we're now almost good to go. Except we didn't configure the ILS approach, right? So let's do that. So we're gonna say, hey, we want to configure the approach. In this case, keep in mind that you need to zoom down, or you need not to zoom down, sorry. You need to press this large knob and then move over to this one to make sure that you set it correctly. And then hit enter again, or hit that scroll bar again, where you can define your ILS, in this case ILS 25, which is good. And then optionally you can configure, let's say, the transitions if you want. But in this case, I'm going to use the vectors, right? Although you could always use these transitions if they make sense. So, and then I'm going to say load. Here you can see another option over which we didn't discuss yet, load or activate. If you press load, it will simply load it to the avionics. If you press activate, so if you would do this while flying, it will also directly activate that, let's say, approach. So say load, and then GPS guidance is for monitoring only. Then say yes. Okay, and now we're good to go, right? If we would scroll down the list, whoa. If we would scroll down the list, we can see everything has now been added manually to a flight plan, including the approaches and including the hold, right? So that really makes it really cool. So now we're good to go, and we could take off and start our journey from Rotterdam, The Hague airports to, in this case, Blankensee. So in this video, we looked at how to configure the flight plan. I would say it was a lot of fun, right? We also experienced some, let's say, challenges, but we resolved it at the end. So hope you liked it. If you're liking more of these videos, or if you want to see more of these videos, then let me know via the comment box below, but also give a thumbs up for this video, because that, let's say, makes me aware that I need to post more of these videos. Thanks for watching this one, and if you're looking for other videos about Flight Simulator 2024, then definitely look at the rest of the videos on my channel. Hope to see you back next time.